You have said a lot of amazing things. You have put a lot of things on my mind, and I know where our relationship stands. So leaving here, I'm promising you, I'm evaluating this conversation. This is a conversation I needed to have. I'm glad that I had it here, and I'm glad that it was as authentic and real as I could have hoped that it would be.
There it is right there. Will he come back and host the Oscars? Ellen is brokering a deal between the Academy and Kevin Hart. Welcome to Access, everybody.
I don't know that a deal needs to be brokered. I think the Academy kind of left that door open for him. So now it's up to Kevin to decide. It is Kevin's very first interview since he stepped away from the Oscars platform last month over those anti-gay, those tweets from 10 years ago that resurfaced. He says he was attacked. Ellen is defending him.
Yeah, well, Glad has said that he should step up, not step down, and it seems like he is at least thinking about that.
Yes, the conversation was great. The whole interview went an hour. It was supposed to air on Monday, but they moved it up. It's going to air later today. I know you've seen some short clips out there they've been running, but we have so much more. We're going to dive really deep into this.
Okay, so here's Kevin first talking about how he didn't even have a full 24 hours to enjoy the fact that he got his dream job hosting the Oscars, when then he says he came under attack on social media for those past tweets.
When it happened, you know, my first thought is I'm going to ignore it. I'm going to ignore it because it's 10 years old. This is stuff I've addressed. I've talked about this. This isn't new. I've addressed it. I've apologized for it. I'm not going to pay it any mind. Because when you feed into that stuff, you only add more fuel to the fire.
Right.
I'm not going to do. I'm going to leave it alone. Another day goes by. The fuel is now, it's growing. This fire is angry. It's all over the place. Now the headlines are starting to change. The headlines are Kevin Hart refuses to apologize for homophobic tweets from the past. The word again was left out. Everybody took those headlines and started to run with it. So now the slander on my name is all homophobia. Now I'm a little upset. I'm a little upset because I know who I am. I know I don't have a homophobic bone in my body. I know that I've addressed it. I know that I've apologized. I know that within my apologies, I've taken 10 years to put my apology to work. I've yet to go back to that version of the immature comedian that once was. I've moved on. I'm a grown man. I'm cultured. I'm manufactured. I'm a guy that understands now. I look at life through a different lens, and because of that, I live it a different way. So now, I'm kind of upset because these 10 years are just being ignored. They're being brushed past. I don't joke like that anymore because that was wrong. That was a guy that was just looking for laughs and that was stupid. I don't do that anymore. So to be put in a position where I was given an ultimatum, Kevin, apologize or we're gonna have to find another host. When I was given that ultimatum, it's now becoming like a cloud. What was once the brightest star and brightest light ever just got real dark. The Oscars is no longer about Kevin Hart stepping on that stage and taking a intense night where people are so uptight and making it loose and fun. That's my reason for doing it. I'm gonna bring fun to the Oscars. I'm gonna make the Oscars fun. Now, all of a sudden, it's a little darker because the conversation is about me hosting the Oscars. The conversation is about Kevin Hart's tweets from 10 years ago and homophobia.
It's a fascinating, beginning of the interview, but it goes on, it continues on, and it's, I think everything he says is so true.
Yeah.
We've all been, not to this extent, but you get those hate tweets or you get people who just glom onto something you say and then they try to undo you.
Especially though, you've seen it a lot taken out of context, where it's this thing, maybe it was a joke, and super inappropriate, and then it becomes you must be this homophobic, you must be this racist, you must be this bigot, you must be this person represented by these few characters. You know what I mean? You think about he spent the next 10 years of his life,
a decade,
trying to correct behavior that he saw or that was brought to his attention that was ill or incorrect or inappropriate. Or just the process of growing up in a time of social media. It was interesting because Ellen and Kevin continued to talk, and then she worked hard to make a case for him to come back.
I mean, the Academy is saying, what can we do to make this happen? And I'm saying to you that as one of the smartest people I know, one of the funniest people I know, and when you see this movie, you see the talent and see his acting ability and what the different layers of Kevin Hart is. And that's just another thing we're going to get to see. Mm-hmm. We're going to get to see on stage with you hosting the Oscars is sophistication, class, hilarity, and you growing as a person. Because most people would say, you know, I'm walking away, I'm not coming back because, you know, I'm going to go back and forth. But for you to be the bigger man, for you to say, I understand, and to not pay attention. There are so many haters out there. Whatever's going on the internet, don't pay attention to them. That's a small group of people being very, very loud. We are a huge group of people who love you and want to see you host the Oscars.
Mm-hmm. But when you witness this, and you stand in front of it, and you heard that these things exist. I've heard about it. I've never experienced it. I've heard about it. This was my first time in the fire. I've seen it. Oh my God. This was to destroy me. This was to end all partnerships, all brand relationships, all investment opportunities, studio relationships, my production company and the people that work underneath me. This was to damage the lives that have been invested in me. It's bigger than just the Oscars. It's about the individuals that are out there now that are finding success in damage. They're finding success in damaging your quote-unquote celebrity. Now, if you go back and I don't have a word, or if I don't have a bond, if I don't have anything to stand on, I'm now going right back into the place where the people that came after me want me to go. Somebody has to take a stand against the quote-unquote trolls. You have to.
Right, but they're going to win if you don't host the Oscars. You know, then they win.
Good point,
You can tell
Ellen.
how hurt Kevin Hart is by this when it comes on you. What I love, what a way to start off 2019 for Ellen Degeneres to show some leadership. You know there's going to be backlash for this. People coming after her, but to really take a stand and show we're all a work in progress. We're allowed to evolve. Again, if Kevin Hart had continued with these horrible jokes and hadn't learned from it, it's been a decade of him improving himself. At what point do we get to move forward as a society?
How much of a pound of flesh do we need?
Yes.
You know, and those who live in glass houses, we all know. I mean, there's so many things about this interview that I think are so important for where we are in our society nowadays with social media and the constant tear down and the way people are fixated on you know, breaking people down. And they love seeing people rise up, but then they love tearing them down even more.
I'm going to say we. I'm not going to put it on them. I'm not going to put it on those out there. We love that. There's something about where we are as a country. There's something about our leadership. There's something about the choices that have been made and the way that they're being made now that encourages us to latch on to the negative and not even recognize the positive.
Exactly.
What was interesting to me about this interview was that a friend interviewed a friend. This wasn't simply a guest on Ellen's show. She knows him. Yeah. She respects him. She understands his comedy. She understands him from a comedic standpoint. She also is a gay woman. Do you know what I'm saying? So it didn't seem to me to be unreasonable for him to go to her and say, am I wrong? Am I crazy? And for her to kind of co-sign his apology and knowing who he is beyond a couple characters.
But we need more leadership like that from people like Ellen, again, to put her neck out there and call it out when, as a society, we need, I think, need to be able to move forward with things. And what Kevin said, too, if you really think about it, it's not about the Oscars. They were coming after him personally to destroy him.
Well, that's what happens. Yeah. That's what happens. It's not just the Oscars, it's your deals, it's your life that then becomes into jeopardy. And it's interesting because the backlash in this interview it's already started, and it's not just for Kevin, but it's also for Ellen. One of the tweets was from a BuzzFeed senior film editor, Adam. He says if the Academy wants to hire Hart back after he made the simple act of apologizing for hurtful, harmful, anti-gay language into a vicious conspiracy to ruin his entire life, I'm not sure who wins in that scenario. Another tweet said, Ellen giving homophobes the ability to say, but Ellen said it's okay, is a blanking betrayal.
So what does all of that mean? So
well, I don't know that they've seen the whole interview. I wonder if they would feel differently if they see, you know, the full hour and see if you come away with a different perspective. Let's not judge based on one or two little clips, but then also
but Natalie,
the
thing
other point
is these people probably haven't even seen any interview. They're just latching on to what someone else said and are retweeting that.
But let's just go back to, you know, the question of did he apologize? Did he apologize enough? Was it sincere enough? He did, when he tweeted originally, when he chose to step down, he did give his reasons. He says, I chose to step down from hosting the Oscars this year. This is because I don't want to be a distraction on a night that should be celebrated by so many amazing, talented artists. I sincerely apologize to the LGBT community for my insensitive words from my past.
Yeah.
He says, I'm sorry that I hurt people. I'm evolving. I want to continue to do so. My goal is to bring people together, not tear us apart. Much love and appreciation to the Academy. Listen, I think this is such a teachable moment for all of us. I think this is such an opportunity to step up and shine a light on homophobia. I mean, kids are getting killed across the country because they're afraid to come out.
And
Here's
Ellen
your chance,
knows
Kevin.
all this. That's her point, too. She's like, I'm not diminishing what was done. But what I love, too, about Kevin Hart, I've lost my train of thought. You go, Scott.
No, it's all good. But that's where we are now. It's crazy because that's where we are now. We've become so impassioned about things that sometimes it clouds our what's reasonable on in the characters. It's funny because one of the tweets that I just read said if Ellen wants to give him a pass, and it's like, oh, if Ellen said so, Glad came out with a statement after he stepped down and said, Kevin Hart shouldn't step down. He should have stepped up. Hart's apology to LGBTQ people is an important step forward, but he missed a real opportunity to use his platform and the Oscar stage to build unity and awareness.
Well,
and at the end of the day, that's what it's about.
My guess at the end of the day today, we'll have a new Oscar host, and it'll be Kevin Hart.
Wait, and I remember what I was going to say. That for me, it's not only apology that works, it's actions that follow. In his past 10 years, he's done so much great for the community, for his work, through his actions, what we've seen. That's what I was going to say. Anyway.